along with everybody at AFCENT and ABCENT and ARCENT and all the components down there, laying the groundwork for Iran. Iran doesn't have the same ability to defend it the way they did before. And so as the president has pointed out to the rest of the world, we barely get any of our energy out of the Strait, just a tiny fraction. It's time for the rest of the world to step up and ensure that that stays open after President Trump and the War Department brought Iran to the place where they are voluntarily opening it right now, as was announced last night. Yes, Jared.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you both for the update. President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning that there has been a very productive regime change in Iran, and that there will be no enrichment of uranium, and the U.S. will work with Iran to dig up and remove the deeply buried nuclear dust. So I just have two questions here. So both you, Mr. Secretary, and the President have referred to a new regime in Iran. So is this not the regime that was at war with us for 47 years? And what do we think of when we're saying that this is a new regime? What are we thinking and what are we saying there? And then my second question is, with any future deal with Iran, is their handing over of all of their enriched uranium and they're promising not to enrich any future uranium a non-negotiable for the U.S.?
Well, it's always been non-negotiable that they won't have nuclear capabilities. And so right now it's buried and we're watching it. We know exactly what they have, and they know that. And they will either give it to us, which the president has laid out. They'll give it to us voluntarily. We'll get it. We'll take it out. Or if we have to do something else ourselves, like we did in Midnight Hammer or something like that, we reserve that opportunity. But what's clear, what the new Iranian regime knows, is they'll never have a nuclear weapon or the capability to get a path to one. As far as the new regime, you heard the list that I read. It's a new group of people who've seen the full capability of the United States military and has a new calculus about what it means to negotiate with us, hence why they came to the table wanting a ceasefire and the shooting to stop. So this new regime, which the regime has been changed, has a different interaction with the U.S. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, thank you.
Of course. I was going in front right here.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary and General Kane. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. Two questions. Iran has said that safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible in coordination with Iran's armed forces and, quote, technical limitations. What do you believe that means? And then we've also heard reports that Iran has continued striking targets well into this morning. At what point are we beyond a grace period? Are we giving them a grace period? Is there a miscommunication there? What's going on with that?
What we know is that Iran is going to say a lot of things. A lot of people are going to say a lot of things, claim a lot of things. What has been agreed to, what's been stated, is the strait is open. Our military is watching. I'm sure their military is watching, but commerce will flow. And that's what you saw the markets react to, is that reality. As far as shooting, that we were monitoring it last night in real time. Of course we are. Iran would be wise to find a way to get the carrier pigeon to their troops out in remote locations to know not to shoot any longer one-way attacks or missiles, because it takes time sometimes for ceasefires to take hold. We're watching it. We're prepared if necessary, but we hope and believe that it'll hold. Yes.
Thank you, Secretary.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Why are you so rude? Just wait. I'm calling on people.
Thank you, Secretary. Yesterday in the President's Truth Social, he threatened to wipe out a civilization. That statement elicited a huge response in America. If Iran did not come to the table and make a deal yesterday by the deadline, was the President really prepared to wipe out Iran entirely?
Like I said, we had a target set, locked and loaded, of infrastructure, bridges, power plants. Remember, this is a terror regime. The military regime used all of these things for dual use to fund their military, to fund their terror campaigns. We had a lot of legitimate targets. They knew exactly the scope of what we were capable of. We hit some military targets on Karg, which is a bit of a signal. They can't defend it. And so Iran ultimately understood their ability, their future, to produce, to generate power, to fuel their terrorist regime was in our hands, was in President Trump's hands. That's why they came to the table. He ultimately said, we can take it all from you. Your ability to export energy will be taken away. And the United States military has the ability to strike those things with impunity. That type of threat is what brought them to the place where they effectively said, hey, okay, we want to cut this deal. Yes, right here.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. David Zier, Real America's Voice. During the ceasefire, what do we do when we see Iran rearming, regrouping, repositioning weapon systems and air defenses? And also, have we confirmed the specific model type of air defense or man pads that took down our F-15? And is it still a threat for our patrols?
We're still working through the specific details around that particular shoot down. And the crews, when they normally return, go through a debriefing process along with the other members of that flight that were out there. And they'll go back, as they always do, and forensically look at what are the tactical lessons learned. Did we sense or see something? Could we have done something different? We do that, as I mentioned in a prior press conference, every single time we take any loss like that, so that we become a quick learning organization. On the other part of your question around the movement of Iranian military forces, U.S. CENTCOM will continue to monitor that situation. They will continue to have a series of response options, and if need be, will come to the Secretary and to the President for guidance and be prepared to do the things that they're ordered to do so against valid military targets in accordance with the normal procedures that we have.
I would just note, it's a good question. The more Iran moves forces, the more they emplace forces, the more easily targetable they are for us right now. Remember, we're able to look, we're able to see, we're able to sense. We know so if they try to preposition, they're just creating riper military targets for us to strike should they make the wrong decision at the table. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, Louis Martinez with ABC News. First, a question to General Kane, sir. In your personal opinion, were the risks of the Strait of Hormuz being closed because of the conflict, were they mitigated early enough in part of the decision-making process to lead up to the decision to take action against Iran? And in your opinion, is Iran in control of the Strait of Hormuz? We just heard the Secretary say that Iran is letting them ships through, which would imply that potentially it's not just. The Secretary also said that the U.S. That the strait is open. You did say that, sir. But in your opinion, sir, how can the U.S. ensure safe passage? And Mr. Secretary, can you say today that the United States achieved, the administration achieved the military goals that you've constantly delineated? But strategically, is that a victory because of that? And also, you said earlier that the president chose mercy. But you yourself had said